If children cannot follow house rules, how will they handle the real world rules? Rules at home are not about control. They're about preparing our children for real life, where every environment has expectations. Boundaries, of course, also consequences. Children often see rules as punishment, not preparation. They may think parents are just being strict, but many household rules are actually teaching life skills. They will need it in school. They're going to need it in sports, public settings, work, relationships, and most importantly, adulthood. Everywhere kids go, there are expectations. Everywhere are expected to raise their hand, respect teachers, show up on time, and complete their work. Home should not be the place where there is no structure. In sports, there are expectations too. Work with the team and listen to the coach and follow guidelines if they want to play. If not, they're going to be riding the bench or not even make the team at all. Kids are expected to have manners or respect and know how to act depending on who they're around, of course. Manners still matter. At a job, for instance, there are policies, there are procedures. You have to be on time. You have to follow instructions. And most of all, you have to handle responsibilities. If not, it can lead to discipline and possibly termination. That is why it is so important for children to understand that rules do not exist at home. Rules are a part of life. We'll discuss now a little bit about discipline and freedom. Society, of course, rewards discipline. People who can follow, manage time, respect boundaries, usually do better off in life than those who reject structure. Freedom without responsibility usually creates problems when there are no guardrails over children that tend to make poor choices. Kids often want independence, but real freedom comes when they prove they can handle responsibility first. A lot of freedom in life comes through sacrifice and discipline. You either learn that now or you learn that later in life. If you want to be successful, travel, enjoy life, and do things that you want to do, that usually comes from first learning responsibility. Consistency as well with self-control. From a parent's perspective, parents who set rules, they're not being mean. More than anything, they're just being realistic. Speaking for myself, I consider myself a strict, stern father, especially when it comes to coaching both of my sons in sports in particular. And the reason for that is because I know that they're going to deal with other coaches one day who are stricter than me and, of course, a little firmer than me. And some coaches will have zero tolerance, period. I mean, growing up, I've had a few coaches, zero tolerance. This is what it was. And overall, with some of these coaches, it'd be their way or no way. So our kids got to learn to accept that and deal with that. So I'm actually trying to set the foundation now so my boys understand that structure and correction and accountability, understand that that's a part of life. When another coach gets on them later and tightens the guardrails, it won't be a shock to them. They already be familiar with discipline and expectations. So that's how I look at it. And of course, our kids dealing with real world consequences. The world is not going to adjust around our children's feelings. And as adults, we know this from life experience. So now I'm going to share a few examples of real world consequences that can relate to our children and in their lives now. School has rules. If kids do not follow them, they'll eventually end up RPC, suspended, and possibly even expelled. Sports has rules. They do not practice the right way and have the right attitude, following them directions as well. They may sit the bench, they may get cut, or not even make the team. Jobs have rules. If you don't follow policy, show up late, of course, all the time, no call, no shows, eventually that can lead to termination. Driving also has rules. If you speed, you ignore signs, or fail to stay in your lane, you can get citations or cause accidents. Society has laws overall. Bad choices, we know, can lead to serious consequences, including misdemeanors, gross misdemeanors, felonies, which overall can lead to incarceration and life-changing setbacks. The home should be the first place children learn structure. Home should be the foundation for respect, responsibility, self-control, discipline, and accountability. Because if your children do not learn how to follow rules at home, it becomes much harder for them to handle rules, expectations, and consequences they will face in the real world. The home should be a training ground for life. If children learn structure early, they are more prepared to handle school, handle sports, as we talked about earlier, work, relationships, and adulthood later. Now I'm going to share more real life examples to connect home rules to life outside the house with your children that you can put in perspective for your kids or for your mentees. Being home on time. Being home on time teaches punctuality. In the real world, jobs, meetings, school, practices for your athletes, and appointments all expect people to be on time. If you're always late, it can cost you opportunities. It may even hurt your reputation and make people stop trusting you overall. So when I tell my child to be home on time, I'm not just making a rule, I'm teaching punctuality. That's the main purpose of it, because the world expects you to show up on time. So that's what I'm trying to instill in both of my kids. Clean up after yourself. Cleaning up after yourself teaches responsibility and respect for shared spaces. I'm trying to show my son, where he is about to embark on college, he's going to share some spaces, possibly dorms, of course, at some point. And later on in the future, it'll definitely be work or in any shared environment. Nobody wants to deal with someone who leaves a mess for other people. Learning to clean up after yourself teaches children how to take ownership. Cleaning up after yourself is not just about keeping the house neat. Overall, it teaches responsibility, consideration as well, and how to function in shared spaces. Speak respectfully. Speaking respectfully teaches communication, emotional control, and wisdom overall. Children will have to talk to teachers, of course, coaches. They're going to have to talk to bosses, people in authority. And then it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Learning to communicate with respect helps them in every part of life. Respectful communication is a real skill. Kids need to learn early that tone, attitude, and delivery matter. Doing your chores before fun. Doing your chores before fun teaches responsibility before pleasure. In the real world, adults handle bills when we got work, other obligations, of course, before relaxing. Life doesn't always let you put pleasure before duty if you want to be successful. When I tell my kids to handle chores before fun, I'm teaching them a real adult principle. Responsibilities come before pleasure. Tell the truth. Telling the truth teaches trustworthiness. Honesty builds trust in friendships, whether it's a relationship, school, and at the workplace. When people cannot trust your word, it damages relationships and opportunities. Truth matters because trust matters. If people can't trust you, it affects every relationship. So that's very important. Finish homework or assignments. Finishing homework teaches discipline and follow through. Life will always have deadlines, expectations, and tasks you have to get done whether you feel like it or not. One of the clearest ways to prepare our kids for adulthood. Homework may seem small now, but it teaches a bigger life lesson. Finish what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Ask before taking something. Important one for me. Asking before taking teaches respect for other people's property. It also teaches boundaries. Some children get comfortable grabbing things without permission, but that mindset definitely can turn into bigger problems later. They need to learn that what belongs to someone else should be respected. When I teach my children to ask before taking, I'm teaching, of course, respect, honesty, and also more than all, boundaries. Limit screen time. Limiting screen time teaches self-control. Adults who cannot manage distractions often struggle with relationships, work, and life. Kids need to learn early that they cannot always do what feels good in the moment. Screen time limits are not just about devices. They're about teaching self-control in a world full of distractions. Go to bed at a decent time. Going to bed at a decent time teaches discipline, as we talked in the previous vlogcast, and readiness. Rest affects focus, attitude, health, and productivity. Society still expects you to perform whether you're tired or not, and that's a fact. Kids need to know bedtime is not punishment. It teaches that rest matters because life still expects you to perform. Watch your attitude. Watching your attitude teaches emotional control and maturity. A bad attitude can damage relationships, cost opportunities, and create problems in school, sports, work, and everyday life. Attitude matters more than people realize. In life, people may give you grace if your attitude is right, but the wrong attitude can turn a warning into consequence. And I can speak to that personally. When I did work patrol, a lot of our traffic stops, of course, are discretion. But a person attitude often made the difference between me giving a warning or writing a citation. So, that's a real life lesson for kids. Your attitude can affect your outcome. Help around the house. Helping around the house teaches contribution and teamwork. In families, school groups, sports teams, workplaces, everybody's expected to do their part. Kids need to know life is not just about being served. In every environment, family, school, sports, work, people are expected to contribute. Helping around the house teaches kids that they have a role to play. No hitting, yelling, or disrespecting others. This teaches, again, emotional control and self-management. Children have to learn that emotions are real, but they cannot let emotions control their behavior. That affects friendships, it affects school, dating, work, and overall adulthood. Emotional control is one of the biggest life skills a child can have. You cannot hit, yell, disrespect people every time you're upset. Utilizing on what I referred to in previous vlogs, the formula of life, I over E, intellect over emotions. Follow instructions the first time. Very important. Follow instructions the first time. It teaches discipline, listening skills, and safety. Teachers, coaches, bosses, and even emergency situations require people to listen and respond properly. Kids need to understand that failure to follow directions can have real life consequences. When kids learn how to follow instructions the first time, they are learning discipline, respect, and overall safety. Save somebody's life and even their own. Knock before entering. Knocking before entering teaches privacy, boundaries, and respect. You'll be surprised how many parents let their kids just walk in the room, walk in their office. You gotta set those boundaries now. Children need to learn that not every space is theirs to enter however they want. This builds awareness and personal boundaries. Knocking before entering may seem small, but it teaches privacy, respect, and boundaries overall. Things they will need in relationships, friendships, and adulthood. Keep your word. Keeping your word teaches integrity and reliability. Being trustworthy is one of the biggest expectations in life. People remember your word is solid, and they also remember when you let them down. One of the biggest things a child can learn is to keep their word. Trust is built when people know your word means something. I still remember when certain people I looked up to did not keep their word, and that stays with you. And that's why I teach my kids that your word should mean something. Now, let's get into a few effective ways to explain rules to our children and really help them understand the message behind them. Explain the why behind the rule. Do not just say, because I said so. Break the rule down so they can digest it. For example, you need bedtime. And explain to your kid would be because your body and your mind needs rest to function at school. You need chores. You need chores because everybody in this household contributes. You need limits. You need limits because structure helps prepare you for life. When children understand the reason behind the rule, they are more likely to respect it. So just break it down so they can digest it a little bit more better. Connect house rules to real life. Help kids understand that house rules mirror adult expectations. Cleaning their room teaches them how to take care of responsibilities. Being home on time. Being home on time teaches punctuality and respecting deadlines. Speaking respectfully. That teaches workplace and relationship skills. Even in sports, there are curfews when the kids travel and expectations. If a coach tells a player to be in a hotel room at a certain time, they're expected to be there. So curfews are not just a house thing, they're a life thing. And that's one example that definitely you can convey to your kids. Be consistent with consequences, which is amazing on how a lot of parents move the goalposts on the rules dealing with consequences with their kids. Rules mean very little when you change them based on your mood. Consistency teaches the children that expectations are real and that consequences are connected to choices. If you tell your kid, I'm going to take your phone for a few days, you got to stand on that. You cannot take it away, then give it right back to them a few hours later. As parents, we have to stay consistent and we got to stand on business most of all. Start with age appropriate rules. Not every child needs the same level of instruction. Younger children need simple, clear rules. Older children need more responsibility and more accountability. As parents, we have to teach, coach, and mentor our children at the level that they can understand while still challenging them to grow. Balance structure with relationships. Rules work better when children know they are loved, heard, and understood. Structure without connection, it does feel harsh. So connection without structure also feels weak. Children need both. And that is why even when I correct my kids, at the end of it, I also make sure they know that I love them. So I look them dead in the eyes and tell them that I love them. Even in moments when they make you feel upset as a parent, of course, you should still do that. They still need to feel both the correction and the love. My call to action to the parents and the mentors. Parents, this week, I want you to take a look at your household rules and ask yourself, are these rules preparing my child for life, or am I just reacting to behavior? I also want you to talk to your child about how rules at home connect to school, sports, jobs, and adulthood. I covered a lot of that prior in this vlogcast. Please utilize it. Help them see the bigger picture overall. That's the goal. You know, I like to leave y'all with the relatable quote on each vlog. Structure today can prevent struggle tomorrow. Subscribe to Raising Humans Together for more real-life parenting strategies that can help raise prepared, respectful, and responsible children. I'm giving out all the gems, y'all, every vlog. So make sure you subscribe and share them to the masses. See you on the next one. Peace.